Hello, everyone. Welcome to Social Network Analysis. This is Bodong Chen. We're here to talk about networks. What is a network? Briefly defined, a network is simply a set of objects with interconnections. Why we want to study networks? Zooming out of educational research or practice, one of the reasons we're studying networks is networks are everywhere. Network analysis is used across many different disciplines to help us understand a wide range of phenomena, ranging from how galaxy works to how different countries are trading with each other, or how people are migrating across borders among countries or states, how flights are connected in different cities. And then can also be applied to more micro level phenomena, such as how people are building relationships, how people are supporting each other, how people are exchanging information with each other, and also even more microscopic phenomena, such as how brain cells are interacting with each other as we think or as we learn, or how different proteins are interacting with each other in a biological system. So networks in general provide a wide range of tools to help us represent a phenomenon, and then to help us analyze the phenomenon, help us answer important questions about this phenomenon. In many cases, the power of networks is about not only analyzing different objects in their silos, but really foregrounding the connections and try to maintain the structure that dictates how they work together, how they interact with each other, so that the relations and the objects or the nodes are analyzed together to help us build a more holistic, more comprehensive understanding of those different phenomena. So even though there are many different kinds of networks, but when we think about networks, social networks usually come to our mind first because they're widely known. And social networks can be about many different kinds of social relationships, ranging from friendship in a karate club or email communication among employees in a company, or whether, which employees go out for lunch in organizations, or co-authorship among researchers in a field, or citation relationships among researchers in a field. In education, there are many kind of networks that have been studied as well, ranging from advice-seeking networks in a school that describes, which students are seeking advice from their peers, from their adults in the school building, and why, which students are not able to access advice in a building. There are also studies of friendship networks in a school or in a classroom, or interaction networks in digital learning systems, such as a MOOC. So, but basically, social networks is broadly studied, examined in education as well, to help us understand particular social relationship or social process that are very important for learning and education. But network analysis, as I mentioned, can be applied to other settings as well. They're not limited to social networks because it's basically about understanding or analyzing connections between nodes. It can be, in particular, in a lot of digital learning environments, it can be used to examine student interactions, such as in an online forum. It can be used to analyze following relationships on social media, or the spread of ideas in a community, or how students are making sense of phenomena by building connection among different concepts or different terms in a particular domain. So it doesn't need to be limited to social relationships. And there are researchers who are trying very hard to make arguments in many cases that, for example, interaction networks in our digital learning systems are not social, right? Those are social interactions, but they're not social relationships. So there are very, particular distinctions among those different things, even though they can be both examined using network analysis. So we're going to dive into those more fine-grained or detailed ideas a bit later. But there are some basic concepts I want to introduce you or engage you to think about as we launch this journey. So in a network, as I mentioned earlier, there are basic building blocks. In a network, there are things which are referred to as nodes, or in some other cases, people use vertex or vertices to refer to nodes as well. And nodes are connected, right? One node is connected to another. And then the connections are referred to as ties, edges, or links. And nodes can have different attributes. For example, in a karate club, the different people in the karate club can have different, bell colors. That's a very distinctive attribute of karate club members. Or for a student, they can be, socioeconomic status that are used to describe the student. And then links or edges can also have different attributes that define their types, such as whether this is a friendship relationship or in some cases, right, co-authoring relationship, and strength, such as whether this friendship is strong or whether this co-authoringship has been persistent across years or has occurred many, many times. So there are many ways to describe both the nodes and the edges in social networks or in network in general. And to give you a better sense, here's an example of a network of members of a class interacting with each other. This is actually coming from one of my research articles about online interactions among students. And here you see 21 different nodes, and each node in this network represents a person. And each edge, as you can tell, every edge has an arrow. That means each edge is a directed edge that represent interactions from one node or one person to another person. And here you can tell also that the color of the nodes are a bit different. There are three different colors of the nodes. Some are white, some are blue, and there's one that's orange. And the color here describes some attributes of the nodes. For example, number 3 is instructor. And then there are two different types of nodes describing students' participation pattern in this class. And you can see also for the edges, there are some edges that are a bit wider or darker. And they're actually in this graph describing the intensity of the interaction or the number of occurrences from one particular student to another particular student in terms of their interactions. So this is just one of the very simple examples you can think about as you think about using networks to describe a set of nodes and a set of relationships among those nodes. And there can be other types of networks or nodes in the networks. For example, when you think about other educational scenario, you can have different types of nodes, such as there's a teacher, there's a TA, there's a student, and among students, there could be project leaders, there could be project participants. And there could be different types of links as well, expanding from the example I just demonstrated. It could be collaborative relationships among students, could be sharing access to the same learning document, right? Whether two students are actually sharing access to a particular document that sometimes can be an indicator of collaboration as well. Could be about help-seeking behaviors among students. And in some other case, it could be students making insults to each other, which hopefully is not the case in most classrooms, but sometimes it can be a research phenomenon that's very important to be investigated. So those links can be also incorporated in such a social network analysis. And also, as you see in those examples, some of those edges are directed, such as help seeking, right? One student seeking help from another student. Some connections are undirected. For example, two students sharing access to a document. That's a mutual relationship. There's no direction in terms of the student sending a document to another student. That's a directed relationship, versus sharing access is an undirected relationship. So as we go further in this journey together, there are many different ways to describe nodes, edges, and the whole network. So with that in mind, as we think about building this network, what we can do with such a network, I think that's the most interesting question. That's the reason we're spending time together to look into networks and network analysis. And in the moment, I just want to comment that the main reason of even thinking about networks is we can start to study the structure of network. And by doing that, allow us to answer questions about complex phenomena, about social processes, social relations, positions, and so on. We will explore different network techniques in the next few videos to study the structure networks with a focus of social networks. See you soon.